Sonny Hostin's gotcha moment turned into a self-own.
And as governor, you've loosened gun laws in your state, and you hold an A rating for the NRA.
During an appearance on The View, Governor Sununu was questioned about his pro-Second Amendment stance. But just when the ladies thought they had him cornered, he proved them wrong with straight facts and logic.
Guys, I have the safest state in the country. You can talk about the validity, the merits of a law are based on the results it gets.
That's why today we're breaking down this eye-opening back and forth. So without further ado, let's jump right into it.
I want to ask you this because I think it's really important. In the last 145 days, we've had 241 mass shootings in this country. And as governor, you've loosened gun laws in your state, and you hold an A rating for the NRA. You told a friend of our show, Jen Psaki, recently, there's no law you're going to pass that's going to stop mass shootings. There's no law you're going to pass that's just going to magically stop gun violence. However, there was a law that was passed, and that law was passed in 1997. It was a federal assault weapons ban, and it cut it, 1994 rather, and it cut gun violence by 70%. And the minute it was reinstated, mass shootings, and the minute it was reinstated, they went up. Why not put that law back?
First of all, that's not an honest question. It was a trap, plain and simple. The way it was framed made it seem like anyone who disagreed must be a lunatic. Because let's be honest, who's going to say, no, I don't want to stop mass casualty events? Second, the real problem with the term mass shooting is that there's no universally agreed upon definition of it, as it varies based on multiple factors, like the number of victims or the circumstances of the event. Since this episode was in 2023, we're going to look at numbers from that year. Now, if we go by the FBI's definition, we're talking about 105 victims. But if we use the Gun Violence Archive's broader definition, which describes it as 4 or more people being shot, that number jumps to 722 people. It's a big difference, right? Even then, these incidents, while being tragic, they make up a small fraction of overall gun deaths in the US. Now that we have the facts out of the way, let's hear Sununu's response.
No. So, understand. We did not have the mass shootings in the early 90s that we have today. It is exponentially worse, right?
Yeah.
So if your argument, if the argument is if we just have more gun bans and more gun laws, Chicago would be the safest place in the country.
But the problem
because they have the most restricted laws.
But the problem with that argument is that the guns that are used in Chicago are coming from states that have looser gun laws.
So look, so if your argument is we should ban something federally, I remind you, the Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the presidency for 2 years. They did nothing.
They made a mistake.
Guys, they did nothing.
It would have been nice if she had actually let the guest finish his sentence. The man barely got a few words out before he was being interrupted. So much for a good faith conversation. And if we're serious about understanding the reality of gun violence, let's look at the facts. A study from Cambridge University found that over a 25-year span, half of their survey's respondents in Chicago had witnessed a shooting before they even reached middle age. That's not a stat you can ignore. And what makes it even more striking is the fact that Illinois already has some of the toughest gun safety laws in the country. So clearly, something isn't working. But instead of digging into solutions, this conversation turned into a race for sound bites. But the governor took over the conversation and explained why his state is ranked among the safest in the country. And he made some valid points.
Guys, I have the safest state in the country. You can talk about the validity, the merits of a law are based on the results it gets. I have the safest state in the country. So why are we having the mass shootings? It's not because people have access to guns. It's because we're not dealing with mental health. We don't provide access for mental health with kids. When people are in crisis, they have nowhere to turn. They resort to violence. We don't do the right things in terms of locking down our schools and protecting.
What's wrong with
getting the issue is mental health.
Why are you holding on to this one gun?
Yeah.
What is it about this one gun?
The automatic rifle, they killed a bunch of children who were just going to school. That gun.
If you say, well, we're just going to ban, if it was that easy, the Democrats would have done it. They didn't do it because they know it's not.
That's forget about the Democrats right now. What are you going to do?
No, I'm not banning any guns. I'm going to provide access to mental health. We're going to get at the core of the issue.
Let's clear a few things up. First, the AR-15 isn't a fully automatic weapon, it's semi-automatic. That means one bullet per trigger pull, not the continuous fire like in the movies. It's a small but crucial detail that often gets lost in the noise. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Despite all the outrage aimed at these rifles, they're not the most common weapon used in mass casualty events. In fact, if you look at the data between 1982 and 2024, handguns are involved in about 78% of mass shootings. But you wouldn't know that from the way the conversation is usually framed. Certain narratives get pushed hard because they're emotionally charged and easier to politicize, even if they ignore the data. After the governor was repeatedly interrupted and barely had a chance to finish a full sentence, the segment had to be wrapped up. Whoopi was trying to close things out, but the crowd was booing Sununu over his beliefs. That's when Goldberg stepped in and cut through the noise, saying this.
Stop. No booing.
No Republican will ever come back here if you're going to
We need to talk to people to find out what they're thinking and are they thinking in the right way. He's not going to be perfect. None of them are. But at least give people the opportunity to say what's going on.
Hearing those words come out of Whoopi's mouth, it almost felt surreal. It makes you stop and ask, what changed? You see, back in 2023, The View still tried to maintain this illusion of balance. Sure, they'd talk over the right-leaning guests and barely let them finish a sentence, but at least they invited them. There was still some effort to keep up appearances, even if it was more theater than substance. Fast forward to now, and that's completely thrown out the window. The show has turned into an echo chamber, with one opinion and a whole lot of head nodding. And since the ladies didn't give Sununu the chance to speak, we have a clip of him laying out his ideas around this issue, so here we go.
We are one of the safest states in the country when it comes to firearm safety. And it's a responsibility I think that everyone in the state takes very seriously. We have a wonderful, not just tradition, but we've actually moved forward in terms of making sure that we're dealing with the crux of these issues. You can talk about guns and that political argument all day long, but at the end of the day, are we really providing the services to the individual, right? To the person that would do harm? A sign isn't going to, if someone has the will to go and shoot up a school or a synagogue, I mean, a sign isn't going to stop that. We need to make sure we're providing those services, making sure kids with a problem don't become a kid in crisis. And that's what that Safe School Task Force report was all about. And that's why it's being heralded across the country nationally. Right? We've really created a model of getting to the crux of these issues, investing dollars in mental health, which we have done, investing dollars in voluntary services with families, same programs that my opponent slashed when she was in the Senate, we've reinstated, and we're being proactive and preventative in our communities.
By the way, this clip is from a 2018 debate, and it's crazy how much clarity you get when someone's actually allowed to finish a thought. Compared to what we see on The View, where every sentence is a battlefield and guests can barely breathe before getting cut off, this was a breath of fresh air. Just giving someone the space to lay out their argument, agree or not, makes all the difference. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the story, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.